to the Darren Williams Perspective, and I'm your host, Darren Williams. Thank you for joining me. Today's topic is going to be on probably the most talked about and only thing that's being talked about, topic that's in our news at water coolers. Well, it can't be at water coolers because companies have been shut down, but I guess that's on the internet, that's on social media, that's on people's phones, whatever you want to consider it, and it is about the coronavirus. But I think what is probably on people's mind more so than what the virus is, it is basically the shutdown of all of America. I personally live in Maryland, and our governor, Larry Hogan, who is supposed to be a conservative and who upholds or who's supposed to uphold the U.S. Constitution, has gone very far in extending the powers that he has in order to shut down and basically shut off all forms of people gathering together based off of a idea or thought or lack of information, complete information on the coronavirus. So what I'll do is I'll focus in on Larry Hogan, the governor of Maryland first, and then I will go into the coronavirus and then speak more in detail about how we're getting into this situation and how far this is going to go and where the end game is. Larry Hogan, a few hours ago, was on Chris Wallace, and Chris Wallace was asking him a number of questions, probing him in reference to his actions that he's taken in Maryland of shutting down businesses, schools, this so-called social distancing, whether it's 6 feet, 12 feet, or 48 feet, who knows, who cares, desiring people to stay in their homes, almost at to the point where he wants to mandate it, which, of course, it's a violation of your First Amendment right. He claims that it's under executive order, but nonetheless, executive orders cannot usurp the U.S. Constitution. But on Chris Wallace, he was saying how devastating the virus is. The virus is not devastating. He claims that by Easter, Maryland will be very much like New York. That's a lie, totally false. And the reason for that is, one, New York has twice the population as Maryland, and that population that they have is clustered together. So you got about 20 million people living on top of each other. All right. And then they have huge mass transits. I mean, everyone takes either the bus, a taxi, or mostly they take the subway. They're crammed into the subway. And so they're going to be more in contact with other people than here in Maryland. Yeah, we do have mass transit, but not at the level of using it as what New Yorkers do. But apparently Larry Hogan wants us to reach of what New York is. Now, New York has just under or maybe over 59,000 cases. That's what has been reported. And then less than 1,000 people have so-called died of the coronavirus. Maryland has something way under that. Maryland, through the Maryland Department of Health, has said that we have just over 1,200 cases. The majority of the cases are in Montgomery County and PG County. I think 300 and 200 and maybe 50 respectively. And then there's about 15 deaths. We've had 5 deaths recently, and they've all been people who've been in their 60s and 70s with pre-existing conditions. So I don't know how Larry Hogan is getting his idea or his thought that, we're going to end up in 2 more weeks like New York City. Maybe he hopes that we do. I don't know. But nonetheless, what I want to focus on in reference to Larry Hogan is that this man and all the other governors are taking this way too far. One, the coronavirus is a virus, like the flu, which has actually been reported that over about 20,000 people have died within the past couple of months of the flu. The common everyday flu, which you don't even bat an eyelash about. There are over 40 million people in the United States that have already been infected by the flu. Over 300,000 have been hospitalized. And I'm not making light of the coronavirus, but you got to put things in context. You never hear anyone talk about the recovery rate of the coronavirus. All right. John Hopkins has rated the coronavirus, the recovery rate, somewhere in the high 90s. No one talks about that. Larry Hogan never talks about it. Cuomo never talks about that. No one ever talks about that. I don't know if this, well, we don't want to give you any false hopes. Well, if 90 something percent of the people are recovering, that's not a false hope. That's a fact. But of course, if it bleeds, it leads. You know, you want to keep people in fear. You want to keep people dumbed down. And Americans really enjoy being dumbed down. They do. And not to get off the topic, but there's an amazing book that I think everyone should read, and it kind of falls in line to what's going on here. It's by a gentleman. He's passed away, unfortunately. I wish he was still alive. This would be an interesting thing for him to watch. His name is Neil Postman. The book is called Amusing Ourselves to Death. But in short, what Neil Postman says is that we graduate from the way we get information, from an oral tradition to a written tradition of reading books and reading 300-page books, to now the way we get our information, the way we digest information is through bold print and through a photo. And we don't go any further than that. And what we do is we look at the news, and whatever the news says, everyone believes it. People are running around wearing these masks. The masks don't do anything. It's not airborne unless someone spits on you. It's not airborne. Something that's airborne is a gas. It's not a virus. Virus does not float in the air for 12 or 10 or 15 hours. It can't do that. It's on surfaces. It's on your hands. It's on your face. That's how it is. And so you have people walking around with masks. They're walking around with rubber hand condoms. They're doing all these things, not really understanding the aspect of the virus, whether it is the coronavirus or the flu virus or any other virus, even chicken pox. These are viruses. Now, most people are not going to die from this virus. I would even go so far as not even a percentage of the people are going to die from the coronavirus. But the way that has been broadcasted through the news, whether it's been a conservative news outlet or a liberal outlet, is like all of a sudden we're doomsday. We're at doomsday. And so everyone has been kind of quarantined off, self-quarantine, which really represents the government taking over and telling you to stay away, social gatherings. Prime example, there was a gentleman in Maryland who basically arrested him because he had 60 people gathered at his house for a bonfire. Now, I thought that was your First Amendment right to be able to peacefully gather. But apparently Larry Hogan believes that he is God or he's supreme, or he can rewrite the Constitution and tell you what you can and cannot do based on executive orders, which can easily change. They don't go through legislation. But nonetheless, what I would like for people to do is to stop reading and stop looking at the news and start getting into researching. Start reading the stuff, the information, the publications by professional doctors that are in line with infectious diseases. And they'll give you a clear understanding of this. Instead of listening to CNN or listening to MSNBC or listening to these joke clown type of reporters like Don Lemon, and I would even go so far as to stop looking at Chris Wallace. And you focus in on people who are renowned at this thing. And even a lot of them don't even know about it. But the point is, it's a virus. There's probably not going to be a cure, like there is no cure for the flu. Now, you get a flu shot, but basically they put a virus in you to combat a virus, which is the flu. But nonetheless, as anything about this virus is known, that is that the majority of people, a high percentage of people are not going to die. People are probably going to get sick, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe 2 or 3 days, and they're going to recover. The only people that are really dying from this are people that have pre-existing conditions. People that, whether they're young or old, who have pre-existing conditions. The normal healthy person, the person who drinks water, the person who eats well, the person who exercises, they watch their health routine. They're probably not smokers or heavy drinkers or what have you. These people are going to recover, just like the flu. So what my endeavor is that people calm themselves down. Stop listening to people who don't know what they're talking about. And I'm sure you're thinking, well, why should we be listening to you? Well, you don't have to listen to me. But instead of binge watching some Netflix series, I basically do reading and studying this stuff. I enjoy it, but that's just something that I like to do. But I would implore you not just to take what I'm saying, but to go out and research it. Look in periodicals, look in journals, health journals, medical journals. Research it. Become fully aware and fully knowledgeable of what's going on so you don't look like an idiot walking around with these ninja masks on and these hand gloves on because they're not going to help. The other thing is these half measures of what these governors are doing. It's foolishness. Here you have things are closed down, but public transportation is still going on. Buses are still going on. People are crowded in the buses to go certain places. I think that what needs to happen, it's called herd immunity. And herd immunity is basically when you have a group of people or a community or a society or a country of people that have been immunized. And basically you have some people that are sick. If they partake and those people have had their immunization shots, the virus that they have will end up dying off because it cannot attach itself to a particular host that has had its immunization shots. And so instead of isolating people, what we need to do is allow people to come together. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be like a football field of 10,000 people, but maybe again it should. But we should not be isolating people because whether we realize it or not, isolation brings depression, it brings anxiety, it brings fear, it brings all those things. And here we're talking about, we're going to work together, we're going to be as a team. But no, you're not as a team when you're isolating people, when you're telling people that they can't leave their house, they can't go out, they can't see their best friend, they can't see their best friends. No, they have to stay in confined quarters. And that's not going to help. And that's not going to get rid of the virus. So what's the end game here? That everyone gets tested? And somehow, some miraculous way that there's a cure for a virus? There may be and there may not be. So do we continue down this road forever? And then break the economy? I think President Trump has it very well. The most important thing right now is not the virus. It is making sure the economy does not get destroyed, which it's on its way to being destroyed. If you continue to keep people away from productive lifestyles, people are going to go stir crazy. Things are going to get worse. And then what you're going to do? What is Hogan going to do? I mean, him and the smart people, as he stated in his little interview with Chris Wallace, what are they going to do? No, so they know about psychology. They know about putting economies back together again. They really don't know anything. And to be honest with you, I want to be nice to Hogan. Hogan really doesn't know anything. But the point being is this. We have survived so many viruses and diseases, and we'll survive this one. Back in 2009, we had the swine flu. Over 17,000 people died. There were over 70 million people that were infected. 300,000 people were hospitalized, and no one batted an eyelash. Obama didn't even make it a national emergency until, close to 6 months after the fact? Now, he said it was a health emergency, but he never made it a national emergency. But now, there's this virus out, and all of a sudden, the whole world has to shut down. There are 350 million people in America, and the cases are minuscule. There are billions of people in the world, and the cases haven't even reached up to 400,000. And people are recovering. Articles are being written that people are recovering. But once again, this has everything to do with control and with power. And if we as a society, as a people who claim to be Americans, who claim to be for liberty and for prosperity, if we continue going down this road, then we're going to be like China. We're going to be like Russia. We're going to be like Cuba. And it all starts here. This is the first taste of communism. Can you swallow it? And can you continue to swallow it? Or is liberty and prosperity extremely important to you? It's something that you'll die for. The question I want to ask to people, what's more important? Is life more important or is liberty more important? Consider that. Because You can have life without liberty, but you can't have life if you don't choose liberty. You can't. And what I mean by life, I'm talking about enjoying it. So, consider what I said and do your research as well. This is the Darren Williams Perspective, and I'm your host, Darren Williams. Thank you for joining me.